Yeah, go ahead. So, you missed it. You should have been here yesterday. The secret handshake was revealed. See, what's awesome with this message, giving all you got, just usually less than an hour. Really, because the message hasn't changed in so many years. Because and someone will say, well, what is the message? Well, I'll get to that a little later. Well, what happened with me, exploring all this stuff, and then something brought me to a final conclusion, not so much about that which we are, but in the message. Yeah. So the message became more of a warning, and then the seamlessness of the logic was reinforced as the years went by. Yeah. And so one way, if you gave it a direction, it would be called negation, in a sense. And it's not a random thing. It's totally appropriate to the condition. That seems to be the obscuring agent of basic, obvious facts. Yeah. So obviously, if there's not a recognition of obvious facts, there may be a lot of assuming of facts that aren't. Yeah. And so in the act of being identified as what you're not, yeah, that becomes the overriding thing, even concerning what you are. In this little dance, the identification of what you are as what you're not is more influential than what you are is. Yeah? Because what happens is, what you're not will be established, and it will even go to talks about what it is. And all the while listening to descriptions of what it is, it will be hearing those descriptions and leaving the meeting with those descriptions as what they're not. Yeah. So that happened with me, observing talks and being like a hose of it, and I saw that dilemma very clearly, and it's never changed. I never got any other new downloads to go off on expansive, multidimensional, universal answers. It was just the fundamental obscuring agent is what you are looking for what it is as what it's not, really. So it just boils down to that. Now, you may have other ideas about it, and other people will express messages from other ideas about it. This is just what's happened, and it hasn't changed for years. And I don't believe it's going to change, because I humbly believe through observation that if this isn't clear, it doesn't matter how clear you are after this. It doesn't. Yeah? I've met very clear people, but the personhood was totally, totally stubbornly established. Yeah? So all the demonstrations of power and acquisition of all this doesn't matter to me if it's resting on an identification as the one who has those acquisitions and that power. It doesn't have any interest to me, because that fundamental mistake migrates. So the mistake is never going to be found out by the mistake. Yeah? It just reinforces itself. Because whatever it hears about what it is or what it ain't will be held as the hearer of it. The hearer of it. And it doesn't change much by what you hear. It doesn't. So to me, that's why over time it was clear that to talk to you about what you are doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't, But to talk to what you are about you goes somewhere. So this is the movement of the message. It's very, very clear and distinct. You can freaking mess it up and make it whatever you are, but that's why I keep coming back, because I'm just going to keep establishing it that way. So to me, the message goes over our heads, yeah, to what you are. And really, in a sense, its job is to get through what you are, what you're not, to what you are. It's not to get to what you're not. Because you knowing more about what you are as what you're not is more of a fucking deterrent. It adds fucking weight. Yeah? You get weighed down by knowledge. Yeah? And it's not gaining traction. It's not promoting a traveling lighter here. What's the point? Yeah? Do I want to know I'm fucked and still be fucked? Or rather just not be screwed? Yeah? Really, I'd much rather give up the letters after my name. You know what I mean? Would. So the message is, hopefully, and I know I can see in my own little laboratory, I've seen the mental defenses. I know that if you, as what you're not, as a hitter in baseball, it doesn't do well with a knuckle curve. It'll whack a fastball like 3 out of 4 times. It can fucking catch the changeup, but a knuckle curve gets through. It just whiffs, yeah? And then the message has always been to the fucking catcher, not to the hitter. Yeah. So, and you can hear the sound of it. It whacks the mitt. You have a hit. And so to me, that's the spiritual subpoena being served. Yeah. And I know it's already occurred. It's so cool. Yeah. That's the beauty of it. Time is just a contraption, you know. You are that. That's the beauty of it. You really are what you're looking for. You really are. Yeah. I mean, it's really fucking good news. Yeah. And it doesn't matter all the gymnastics, what you're not does. It doesn't matter really, literally, because it can't change the fact. Yeah? You can't change the fact that awakeness is the basis. Yeah? You can't change the fact. Now, in the story of Paul, Paul can seem to be asleep to that fact, but it doesn't change the fact. Yeah? So I can be living as if I'm asleep to awakeness, and I'm not quote unquote awake. Yeah? But it doesn't change the fact of awakeness. It doesn't, you know? You can say, I am totally fucked up, but you're still seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching that day. You know? You were seeing on the worst situation. You were seeing when the worst situation in your life, and you were seeing in the best situations in your life. The seeing doesn't really seem to have much discrimination. It doesn't seem to display volition on your part. You don't seem to be, what the sense of being the seer implies is that you would have some say over the seeing, but you don't, do you? You don't have any say. You have opinions, you have fucking stories, but you don't really have an effect on the seeing. The seeing is just seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, and then the head just does what it with that. And what it does really, it's sort of like, it tries to get distracted by the sum of seeing by piecing it, see or seen. Yeah. So it's sort of like the undifferentiated light, yeah, goes through this little whatever, and then the mentality sees it as differentiated. And so now the differentiation, not realizing it as a program, as a fucking manufacturer, as a mechanical thing, yeah, wants to sort of, with the basis of two-ness, understand the topic of oneness, but only framed from two-ness. Yeah. If there was just a denial of the reality of differentiation, if there was a negation of it, not a denial, a negation of it, then there wouldn't be so much effort to try to make two squeeze into one. You would just lose the interest in being so engaged in the two-ness. You would just lose interest in it. And then you would gain interest in, I don't know what, you'll find out, but you'll lose interest in that, really. Yeah? You will lose interest in using what you are to find what you are. You most definitely will lose interest in that. You really will. And so this fundamental obscuring agent, and I saw it in a much grander and with much more stark coloring with addiction, you know? I mean, it paints with a very large brush. You know, you can see any life run on this is going to be unsuccessful. You see it, you know, you see that self is what has defeated us. You see it. Now, you may not have, there's still the identification as that, which also people in recovery have run into, where we have a statement after the book was written of people following the principles of recovery that, listen, they seem to run into this thing called self can't get out of self. And the only way they arrived there was by attempting to get out of self as self. And they, you know what I mean? And then they realize when they look back on their addictive life, that's exactly what was going on. And then maybe, just maybe, if they can be stripped of the personalness of it, they'll see it as a fundamental flaw, F-L-A-W. I've got to spell out the words. People think I'm saying flaw, F-L-O-R, whatever. Flaw, a fundamental flaw in what's being relied upon. Yeah? That the system, which is called self-centeredness, has a fundamental source code it can't get over as the system, which is it will constantly keep trying to get out of self as self. It will bang it every fucking way. It will change the vehicle of banging, you know, thinking if I hit the wall with a different vehicle, it'll get, yes? And it'll just keep on banging, and it's sort of like if you saw a robot hitting that glitch, and there's that glitch. So the fundamental flaw of the system, which self can't get out of self, so it runs into it. It keeps trying to use the system to get out of the system, and it's an impossibility. Now, I have been a lab rat of that, but in one vehicle, which was drug addiction. I would match my addiction to drugs with any devotee of spirituality, history of spirituality, right up there with Hedderman, the monkey god. It was a fucking Saint Teresa, everything. I loved it. I did anything for it. And I mean, most of the time with it was more like hell, but I still kept living it, yeah? And I ran into it. I can't get out of an imaginary place. And no matter how real the place is, I can't get out of it as an imaginary person. So you want to give this place as much reality as you want, it's still no escape. Self can't get out of self. You can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. There are different ways of saying it, but it's implying the same thing. Yeah? Either we're using something to get out of something or find something. In this case, being it totally defeats the purpose. If you're using something you're not to find something else, maybe it'll work, like, you know, a telescope to find a star. But if what you're using is what you're looking for, then it's not going to work, yeah? If you're using what you're looking for to look for it, doesn't work. It doesn't care if it's a different sect or a religion, it doesn't work. It's not like, oh, it's because, no, it doesn't work. Yeah? If I only had the right, it doesn't work. You're using the light to seek the light. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter what the light is being put through, you know, the right vehicle. You know, watch what happens. People try one meditation, Zen, then they go to Vipassana, then they mix Zen and Vipassana, and we're trying all these concoctions. We just fucking will not let go of the recipe, yeah? You know, change, take something out, put something in. The recipe doesn't work. You're overriding the fact that you are that which you are looking for. You are that while you're looking for it, with that. Yeah? That's it. It's a fact. So non-duality is a fact which, when entertained, will erode the belief in all the assumed facts. Yeah? The assumed facts will be put into the light, so to speak. Instead of being projected as that which is the light, or, yes, the light will be shined on it. Instead of it thinking it's shining a light on everything else, suddenly the light will be shined on it, and the assumedness of it will be noted. And what's assuming this implied fact is the fact. What's allowing what's not happening to have such an influence on today is what's happening. We are what's happening. We are not that which was happening and will be happening. We are what's happening. Yeah. So obviously, if what's happening is really engaged in what's not happening, suddenly what's not happening can fucking influence what's happening. It's unbelievable that I've seen it. I've listened to people speak. And it was July 28th when they were speaking, and their fear of August 15th was destroying July 28th. What a perfect illustration in the book, yes, of, all right, this is exactly, there's the illustration. What's happening, let's say, in a crude way, is July 28th. My preoccupation with August 15th and belief in time and belief in the reality of that is overriding the experience of July 28th. Unfreaking believable. How could that possibly happen? How could what's happening be overridden by what's not happening? It must be taking itself to be that which isn't happening. That's the only way. Yeah. So this is the message. I don't know. I would have liked it to have been a lot more, I wanted it to grow like a tree with lots of branches and a lot of different leaves. And you could, for you, stay on this side of the tree. You need a lot of shade. No, here, less shade, lots of light. Yes, have different degrees. You could start a school, whatever. You could be, fucking surrenders retreats every year. And then alumni retreats and shit and forth. And then tons of revenue streams. Yes, this giant, vast empire. But it's simple message. Yeah? We're using ourselves to find ourselves. Fundamentally flawed, F-L-A-W, and the more you attempt to change it, the more you're reinforcing it. That's the weird little rub, yeah? If you move, that's the activity of the Chinese thumb puzzle, yeah? The movement causes it to do its thing. We're not seeing that. We're thinking the puzzle is fucking us. But in fact, it's us that tightens it. Simple correction, yeah? And when the correction's made, it's not like you were never not you, and now you finally turned into you. It's not like that. You may have a narrative, that's what happened. I had a moment, and I turned back to what I am. No, that moment will always tell you, you were never that which you thought anyway. So really, the event, if it's really a complete event, tells you there was no event. That you weren't that which woke up, yeah? You were awakening, entertaining that, really. And so when the entertaining, that which is entertaining it, loses interest in it, the story from here would be, something happened to me. But in fact, the story was, that never happened. I was never that which I thought woke up. So obviously I was awakeness, yeah? And there's never not been a moment when that's not been the case. Never. It doesn't matter what we're doing. Yeah? When all the shenanigans end, you're right there. When you arrive at the mythical there, it's here, like it always is. Yeah? And now, like it always is. I don't know how much, So let's say here, I'm in the jungle, or whatever. Let's say I've gotten a free sample of what I am, but it's connected, yeah? I am that. So now I'm always looking for it, but as long as it's me looking for it, it always has the same distance. I mean, I can't close the distance. You know what I mean? It's always... So this is a simple message, really is. Yeah. So let's talk about how what you're not seems to gain traction, because it's really, you can diagnose it, you can dissect it. And basically, the only meaning that's worthwhile to go to is a dualistic meaning, a meeting about duality so you can hear about what you're not with the hopes it gets through to what you are. Yeah? Because what you are doesn't need to hear about non-duality. It needs to hear about duality so that it sees it's much different than that. Yeah? It's not something that comes and goes. It's not something that's based on other somethings. It's not. It's negation. Yeah? Not this, not this, not this, not this. Now, do you have to go through thousands of not this? Maybe one, maybe a few. But then usually there's 100 monkey phenomena where a few, right, informs you of the many. So you don't have to go through the many anymore. It's a shortcut, you know. It's sort of like, if this occurs, therefore that. You've seen it, now you can pretty much suggest the that before you do this, therefore. You just, and that I'm not. That's basically it, yeah? And then hopefully it gains traction here. Because the only value where value is here. There's no value in awareness knowing it's awareness. It is, yeah? There's value in awareness knowing it's awareness when it's not knowing it's awareness. And it's in the knowing of Paul. Yeah? And then Paul wants to know awareness. There's the dilemma, because now it's awareness through the fucking viaduct of Paul looking for itself. So you just cut out, you don't even cut it out, you just see Paul as imaginary. There's no awareness finding awareness. You think there's a little awareness that's, you know, gonna find the big awareness? Give me a break. Yes. Tell me where the little awareness ends and begins from the big awareness. It's just all a way of extending the relevance of separation. Yeah? It's dying to keep convincing us that, you know, it's based on it. Us knowing what's true is based on it. It isn't. It's not based on it at all. So I did a talk in Philadelphia at a yoga studio. And so there's a famous yoga mantra. And a lot of people translate it. And this yoga, the lady who ran the studio translated it her way. And so it goes, gone, gone, gone. First of all, the other shore in Buddhism means awakening, let's say, you know, whatever. So it goes, gone, 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 to the other shore. Yeah, following it? Yeah. Arriving at the other shore on having never left. So, what would happen if you got a little feeling on having never left? Would you go beyond like one gone? It would be like gone maybe, you know, to the other shore if I get a good deal, you know, because I know when I arrive at the other shore, I'm having never left. So yes, your spiritual budget's going to go down, yeah, because you're not believing you're on a real other shore with the hopes of arriving at the other shore. You realize this other shore is the same as the other shore. Yeah? So maybe it would be gone, maybe, you know. Or I've done that, this and that. So you just take out the whole first sentence. Gone, gone, gone. Yeah? You can take out the second sentence and the third sentence and just live in on having never left. I mean, what's wrong with that? Cut it all out. Look at all the fairy tales. They always start with once upon a time. Exactly. But you could totally cut the whole story off on having never left. If you woke up today and you were based on having never left, your day would be totally differently interpreted than wanting to arrive somewhere, wanting to get something with the hopes that it's going to put you over the top, which it never does. But then you think, well, just let's change the packaging. Or let's add or subtract. And the equation is fucking fundamentally constantly applied based on the fact that you really fucking have left. You're on the other shore, the wrong shore. And you got to somehow get to the right shore. And there may be more than gone, gone, gone. Because the problem is, when you do arrive at the mythical shore, you're always in fear you're going to get fucking kicked off the island, like one of those reality shows. And there's always competition. And so basically, you can't even rest in the other shore because you believe there's another shore you could go back to. But on having never left is recognized at both shores. When you're seemingly on one shore, the recognition it's the other shore is there. That's the traveling lighter. That's the basis of traveling lighter here. We are on another shore. It isn't that great a lot of times here. You're seeing people, kill themselves and all this fucking shit, yeah? So of course, it's like a panacea to hope that there's another shore, yes? But you can see through this one and know on having never left. It doesn't have to look like what you think the other shore looks like. There'll be an acceptance of it appearing just as it is and still on having never left. That's the traveling lighter. The traveling lighter isn't, there'll be a lot of heavy traveling until you get to the other shore. And then it'll be like, no. It allows a lightness when you're on that shore you want to fucking leave. Because you see, what wants to leave is in and of that shore. Yeah? When it arrives at the other shore, it's going to look just like the shore it left. Just like you go to Thailand and after a few days it looks like Toronto, yeah? You bring yourself wherever you fucking go. And that's what you want to get out of. But you can't completely identify or know because you're identified as it. So all you wanted to get out of it is as it and with it. Yeah? You wanted to get out of the system as the system. It's impossible. The fucking mechanical mistake of the programming has been fucking revealed. It's in everyone's eye who's an addict. They've seen it. They just don't have the invitation to carry through with recognizing that it's in the act of being identified as what you're not. To the point you're using what you are to look for what you are, based on the premise of being what you're not. That's why it doesn't fucking work. You're looking as what you're not reinforces what you're not. Ramana says it beautifully. Presupposing of a non-existent thing. So let's say the presupposing of what you're not, wanting to get salvation for what you're not. If that's the case, your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing what you're not. How can they destroy what you're not? And first of all, there's no need to destroy what you're not because it doesn't fucking exist. It's a projection of what you are. So all that's needed is to get a message through to what you are and hey bro, maybe it's not all it was cracked up to be what you're not. You know what I mean? You've gone through 800 laps. It's not going to change. Maybe this will be a nice time to get a loss of interest in it. Yeah, you still got 20 more laps, but let's say, just let your attention interest, fly above the stadium and then see all the fucking laps, yes? Something, I don't know. So to me, where the real value in this whole message was in the action figure itself, so that it has the ability of not taking itself so seriously, really. I mean, the days of trying to improve this, maybe physically I try to, but socially and spiritually, I'm fucking done. Completely. This thing, another asana isn't putting me over the top. You know what I mean? It's just pure maintenance of this so that, its stomach isn't too bad. It doesn't know that, That's it. I'm not working to, I'm not going to polish the Toyota fucking incessantly. It's a Toyota. I just want it to drive me from here to the other side of town. I don't want it to be in the front of the Rose Parade, I mean, it just doesn't have that ability. Yeah, so that's that. So what happens? I don't know. The mind is free from the incessant preoccupation to keep blowing fucking reality into what's not real. Yeah? What's happening has been blowing a lot of fucking smoke up the imaginary ass. Maybe you can just, I don't know. So I do know, actually. I know by the results. There's been a traveling lighter. And in that traveling lighter, a lot gets informed. Yeah? Yeah. And I see there's like that tube where all the information would send it somewhere. I've seen the fallacy of that, yeah? And then there's a secret tube that's right out in the open, which disputes all the information going through the first tube, really. which is I'm not that, basically. It uses the same, it has the same stance no matter how much information, I'm not that. That's basically it. When it comes another paper, not that. You know, I mean, it sort of becomes rote, I'm not that. You don't have to even read it anymore. I'm not that. I'm not that. It's not even worthy of being read. Well, here's my case of reality. I'm not that. I'm not that. I'm not that. It's not like I'm not that. That would be more of what you're not, trying to be what it's not. You know, trying not to be what it's not. That's even worse. Might as well admit that you are what you're not. It'll be much better for you than to keep denying it as it. Denying what you're not as what you're not is a hell. It's like a fucking spiritual hell. You'll be going to 800 of these meetings and fucking, Jesus Christ. You'll be fucking ready to blow, but you're too socially civilized to let that be seen in public. You gotta keep the spiritual face up, but you're fucking seething. Oh, I can't seem to fucking get it. That's the point. The point of not getting it is to realize you can't get it. What else? What can a failed system show you? It's failed. It has already. Move on. It's time to fucking move on. The system has failed. You cannot deliver the message to what you're not about what you are. It doesn't fucking work. It extends a lot of spiritual suffering, really. Let's get clear. Send the message to what you are about what you're not. That works. That works. That information has value, because there'll be a shift of interest off of what you're not and then to what is. Yeah, and so your day will be enriched, and you won't and you may not be moved to try to enrich your day. Pretty much, you won't, because you'll be enriched. So you'll be able to do what's happening and show up. And because what? Do you cling to memories? Fuck, they're like sand paintings. Yeah. You're just here, constantly here. You never get gypped. Yeah? You're awake while you're sleeping. You're awake here. You're awake. And then the time when you seemingly you're not going to be awake here, you won't be there anyway. The fucking thing will be like when it rolls up, it'll be like it never happened. Because it never has happened. When you're onto something, it will inform you you're onto something. And it won't demand more and more effort and thought. It will decrease the effort and thought as you go along, hopefully. Yeah? It's more a disarming message than a call to arms. You've realized the call to arms doesn't fucking work. You've realized all the concentration doesn't work. All the focus doesn't work. You realize, fuck, this, I can't fucking get it. That's the whole point. You are it. You're not going to get it. That belief that a phenomena of an event proves something to you, and then you believe that was going to just stay constant, that's been blown through. You've seen phenomena is just like anything fucking else. Yeah? Everything comes and goes. What you are doesn't. What you are isn't like a 4th of July explosion every fucking day. You know, fucking blissed out. If you're blissed out every day here, you're either in a mental hospital or you better get to India where you'll find some attendees that will watch you, because you won't be able to function here. Yeah? No. You have a basis that is factual, that allows you as a fucking weird idea to travel lighter through all the other weird ideas. That's all. And not expecting a weird idea to be your savior. Because you don't need to be saved. You don't. Whatever you are hasn't been affected one bit here. This probably could go through zillions of years and not ever be affected. Yeah? It can make a 800-year epic into a second. It can do whatever it wants. It's dreaming. It's beyond all this. So you have a little bit of that. Yeah, a little bit of that goes a long way here. It really does. It can allow 31 years of traveling lighter. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and really very little demand of anything. If you try to get ready for it, you miss it, because it's here already. If you try to get set for it, you miss it. If you try to prepare to deliver it, you miss it. If you believe you can't deliver it because you're not prepared, you've really missed it. It will convey to this insane fucking programming what it's like. It will. It'll intimate itself through what it's not. It will. You'll see the seamlessness of its view. You'll see by recognizing the failedness of self-centered and any myopic view. Yeah? You'll recognize its value by seeing what it's not. The quality of always being available at all times is not found here. Everything fucking changes, everything. But that doesn't. Yeah? It intimates itself by the contrast of other here. And there's a hitting. There's a strong... Its support isn't heavy. It's very light. There's not a giant defense system that doesn't demand vigilance. You're not on fucking high alert all the time. You're not focused, you're dispersed. You're chilled out because you have a surety of the fact. And you know it outlasts the assumed facts. You just do. It can't, like in Course that he used to say, the Course in Miracles, your attack thoughts are attacking your invulnerability. So if you see it from invulnerability, are the attack thoughts really? No, they're just thoughts, misconceived and misdirected, really. Yeah, they're definitely not yours. So what now, what would be the emphasis? The invulnerability. You wouldn't be trying to acquire it, you'd realize you're established in it. What's the fucking point? What would that, if you realize you were established in that, what would its effects be? A chilled outness, I would expect. It wouldn't be fucking uniforms and fucking off to war. No, you'd chilled out. What war? A spiritual path? Any path is too fucking long. You much more, jeez. The leaf can go where the tree cannot, yeah? Fucking, you can blow, you can be blown, you can be used here, you can be put in situations, you can just flow, just like seeing you at the fucking street corner yesterday. Just like that. No, you know, just all like that. Those things are like little free samples of the choreography of this dance, yeah? You have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. So I grew tired of hearing about what I am as what I'm not. I don't want to hear that all that I am is consciousness as Paul. I don't. It didn't help me. Yeah, I didn't want to hear, well, you're already enlightened as Paul. No, Paul definitely does not feel that. And then Paul gets totally confused and angry about the word enlightenment when the word itself means cessation of all suffering. Taken as Paul could promote suffering. It's mind fucking boggling. I can't believe it. All the descriptions of what we are like as what we are drive us as what we're not fucking crazy. It's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. When do you think if the 30th thing you find out about what you are is going to make what you're not what you are? It doesn't fucking work that way. It's best that it never hears anything about what it is, really. But too late for us. We've been fucking imbued with too much knowledge. And a lot of it has to be undone, really. You've got to see these descriptions of what you are, held as what you're not, are a weight. They're an obscuring agent, yeah? It's obscuring the fact even more. You're wanting to know the fact. It blows my mind, yeah? you just want to strip it down to the barest invitation. One bit of knowledge received and held as what you're not will be enforced by more knowledge. It will not be lightened by more knowledge. It will be made more heavy by more knowledge. Yeah. On this topic, the topic of what you are, knowledge about that topic isn't helpful. Knowledge about what you're not to that topic is helpful. Because by seeing what it's not, it'll get a sense of what it is. It doesn't need knowledge of itself. It needs knowledge of what it's identified as. If it sees what it's not, it will get a sense of what it is. And it may not be fucking 4th of July every day. And it may have, and then you'll see all the entanglement of what you're not in the past and the future. But you'll see it from what you are, finally. It's not, doesn't promote more anxiety or fucking, I wish it wouldn't be this way. It's more acceptance shows up in your life. Yeah, I've done things I've loved that have been taken away. Things have happened to me that did all this stuff, but I see it as not me. Not in a way as a mental strategy, as a negation. It's a fact. Yeah, things that I loved come and go. That's what happens here. Yeah. The head wants to establish you yesterday and tomorrow to piss on today. All the pissing of yesterday and tomorrow is not wet now. It's not fucking wet now. We have to believe it to give it that quality. We're not passive little victims. We're dreaming. We're dreaming. If I could only make peace with that, I'd be okay. Oh, yes. You add one condition, it's like 20,000 conditions. As soon as there's one, there's time and space. Now you're separated, and then there's the drive to get reunited. Now, it would be incredibly noble if you were separated, but you're not. So the dream of reunification is a fucking dream of separation. The dream of finding oneness is a validation of the dreaming of separateness. You don't see that move? Your moving towards is a moving away. Do you think Toronto really is different, so different than California? The basis of California, if I'm there, is the same basis of Toronto if I'm here. Has Toronto ever erode what I am? Of course not. Has California changed what I am? Of course not. Why not have a clarity about the fact? And you'll lose interest in the polishing of the assumed facts. You'll stop fucking wasting time polishing a one-way mirror. All you see is yourself in it. It's not a looking at, it's a looking through. Get established, then see where it moves you. Yeah, you'll find out what it's like by being it. You'll see qualities that you didn't seem to exhibit before, having the ability to enjoy peace of mind. Yeah? Because you're not addicted to time anymore. These are all, you'll see it all. You'll see it, you'll know the tree by its fruits. You'll see it. You'll see things have changed that you thought were unchangeable. But from all the therapy and all this, things have changed. Or people say, you know, you've went through so much trauma, it's going to take you years to get over it. I'm not that which went through fucking trauma. Maybe you can get over it quicker. I don't know. Possible. Maybe there's no need to get over it. Maybe it's a perfect delivery system to be used to provide a message to people who are in a lot of trauma. I think you'd like to stay in the emphasis or the emphaticness of it by having trauma. Yeah, so maybe it would be a much more convincing vehicle. Maybe there's other purposes for this than its own purposes. Yeah, maybe it's meant to be used. Yeah, I don't know. It's all up in the air. You only can find out, that's all. But usually you have the ability to taste it when something is so. You have the ability to recognize it. You don't need everyone, you don't need an authority all the time. You can know something, you know this doesn't fucking work. Yeah? This isn't working. Yeah? You know it all. Why? Are we so afraid of what we think could be the results if I stand up or something that we play small? I don't know. You know, and it's okay to play small too. You're not bad. Yeah. I just find this message is so, it's liberating because it takes away the need to be liberated. It does. You lose all interest in it. You lose all interest in these fucking magic fucking journeys. You just like, I mean, my whole life since I've been 6 has been trying to get out of here. Everything I read, science fiction, Edgar Allan Poe, fucking drinking, drugs, spirituality, they were all trying to get out of here as that which is seemingly here. I finally came to the abrupt ending that all these systems are failed because it's the system attempting to use the system to get out of the system. It doesn't work. Yeah, what's one to do? I don't know. Just let it fucking dawn on you finally and be done with it. Like we say in AA, be convinced. How much more evidence do you need? Yeah, you can't keep blaming yourself, fucking this and that. I didn't do enough. I didn't meditate enough. It's all malarkey. You can't do yourself into what you are. You can't have yourself into what you are. And you can't have yourself into, you can't get out of what you are by having and doing either. See, we believe we've left that which we can't leave, and therefore we're trying to arrive back there with the same vehicle that we used to imagine we could left. The vehicle that you thought left didn't move you at all. There's no need to try to drive back from where you never left. Just let it hit you. I know what we are. I know it. I can talk to it. Yeah. Because I know it. It has it's already as clear can be. All your polishing and non-polishing hasn't changed it one bit. It hasn't. It hasn't. Yeah. All that was acquired and lost since you were a baby didn't take that light out of that. It hasn't. It didn't extract anything. Yeah. It just surfaced. Just surfaced fucking turbulence. It didn't change the bottom at all. Yeah. Why not let the background have a say in the foreground? You are from the background. You seem to be in the foreground, but you're of the background. Yeah? And the background's only going to come through us. You're not going to find it in the foreground. It's going to come through us as an expression, not as a place to arrive at here, but as an expression of on having never left. What greater expression could you offer somebody? Another map to arrive, or on having never left? There's tons of map sellers, tons of them. I want to meet someone on having never left. That works. You could try to get 50 Thai massages all in a row. It wouldn't produce this relaxation. It wouldn't. It would not. You can't go through this to get what it needs. The relaxation comes from what we are. That's its effect. So what's the plan today for the thing? Let's have questions now. I just hope you get the disagree or agree. I don't care. I just want you. I hope you got how it's being said. That's all. The horse in front of the cart. That's all I care about. I don't care if you agree or disagree, but introduce this logic to the mental logic. See what it will do. Yeah? How can you turn on having never left into another fucking trip? Yeah? I mean, this is like how? How can you spin that? You arrive at the other shore on having never left. All right. That will be round trip, $500. We're going to make it a spiritual retreat, so it'll be $2,000. You'll get some vegan food, some tantric shit, this and that, but it's still based on having never left. Yeah? We got to do something, so fucking yeah. But why not all the doing something be based on having never left instead of, I want to fucking arrive? Can't you see it could be a little Christian. I saw your hand raising.
Me?
No, Christian.
Yeah, no. As I walked in, you were talking about a point of, and I'm not really sure how to phrase it. So there was an event. You were in the trailer in Calistoga, looking at the bum who was looking at you like you were a bum. And that was an event.
For the action figure. Yes.
The action figure.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how to create the question in such a way, because that created that led to the creation, which I know took years to actually see the truth, and yet it still was something that precipitated the result of finding truth.
Well, in the story of here, as an action figure, yes. But the truth I'm talking about can't be found.
Boy.
But you can find out the truth about that. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of finding versus discovery, right?
No, I'm talking about the truth that we're speaking of can't be found because you are it. Yeah.
Right.
But you can find truth about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but first, in that story, I got struck sober, which changed the story of the action figure completely and gave other possibilities that wouldn't have been available to it. Yeah. So something intervened there because I couldn't get the failure of using me to get out of me. I couldn't. I got run over a couple times one night, tons of situations that were offering me that opportunity, just seemed to drive right through them.
Right.
So something or other used a different modality, which was to strike me sober, you know, and where, in other words, give me an emphatic bit of information that wouldn't, because the yearly drip, drip, drip hadn't worked, so it gave me the lightning bolt model, which was whack, and then something changed, but really, the thing was this radioactive isotope was removed. That urge, that drive to try to get out of me as me was changed, so I could stay sober. And then it introduced me to a way of life which kept me sober. Yeah, and that's a whole story of an action figure.
Right.
When I'm talking about that play on all the different shores was on the same shore I'd never left. Yes? So on the same shore I never left, in the story of an action figure, there are a lot of shores there. They're all on the same fucking shore I never left. Yes, you see?
Yeah.
I'm talking about that, in a sense. So in the story of Paul, and you've seen me, but you never saw me when I was out there, so you didn't. Yeah, so there was a different beast, and the destiny of the action figure had a couple of chapters that I had no idea of until I reached those chapters. Let's put it that way. So the whole book changed without the character of the book even knowing it was going to change. So it changed, and I've been sober now. Yeah.
Well, the drive of that beast, you know, I mean, went through meditation, went through the retreats, went through the Course in Miracles, you know, that drive that drove you to get messed up on drugs and alcohol became the drive that you used to seek spirituality, which becomes, I get, is the fallacy.
But I didn't use it, but that's a perfect dualistic expression.
Right.
So the same energy that was behind the addiction became the energy looking for a solution. What's that but a perfect dualistic swing? Yeah? Addict recovery is a pretty dualistic storyline, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Contraction, black, light, yeah, expansion. Yeah, that's perfect duality. And this is the storyline of all the streams, is duality. Yeah, so yeah, it swung there. I understand what you believe. You believe what I did has something to do with a lot of stuff, which it does, but not concerning what you are.
Right. Okay.
What you've unbecome and became here has nothing to do with what you are. It has to do with what you're not, really. Yeah. So I just want to be clear about that. Now, what you're not may be established in a better type of. Instead of facing the wrong way, maybe it's facing, you know, in a more suitable for a better projection of light. Who knows? So maybe in this dreaming, that's what needed to happen, and all that stuff did it. But most of the stuff with spirituality led me to see the failure of it. Yes, definitely. As even the action figure, I saw the fundamental failing of spirituality. Just in my thing. I didn't apply it to everyone else. I have now, in a sense. just for embellishment, really, more an artistic flair communication, really, because I won't know. Maybe it will work for you. But I fundamentally saw it doesn't work. Yeah. Because, once again, the thing that was sorely missing from all of the cogs it was running very on high lubrication was I am that which I'm looking for. That was escaping the attention completely. So by the way I arrived there was by trying to look for it a lot. I realized exactly when I heard these messages stated by Huang Po and Ramana, when I heard them, there was a prime and readiness for that because I had all the information already. You know, it's just waiting for the guy who changes the rail of the train to go beep, beep. That's my Achilles heel. Is it located at the heel? So, yes, exactly. I'm a true believer in what can a failed system show you, that it's failed. That's my take, because that's a lot of ways this comes to a conclusion. This came to a conclusion when I was struck sober, because the thing went to that innermost, that I'm fucked, and that I'm not managerial quality. That was super clear, it's never changed. So that was very helpful for the action figure, because it told me, then when I ran into the statement in recovery, self can't get out of self, I had tons of flesh and blood around that. That was so blue. That's all I've been trying to do since I've been 6 years old. I've been trying to get out of me as me. And then I finally realized it's completely impossible. That has an effect here, it does. But then the spirituality got weaned off of because the exact same elephant in all the spiritual rooms is you are what's looking. That's all. And then maybe it's still okay then, but when you realize that using it to look for itself is the obscuring agent, that's a sobering understanding. Yes? So it's not only what you're doing is actually promoting more obscuring, looking for it. That really got me, yes. That made a big impression immediately, so I stopped doing everything. Not by effort, it just was fundamentally, I realized, fuck, it's a found system. Why would I, you know what I mean? Why would I get on a bus that's not moving, you know? It's fucking, I don't like buses that much, and I'm not a real belonger. I know, not seeking connection in weird areas, you know? I have connections now, you know, with relationships. I don't need groups, or maybe I do with AA. But yeah, so I, you know, hey, I looked at the people in the bus. Hey, it's not moving. Let's get off. You don't even have to pull the emergency brake because it's not moving. I'm not going to get hurt. Just get off the bus. Yeah. One of the things that hit me was an article in a Buddhist magazine that had a huge, I always share it, had a huge effect on the action figure, which was beautiful magazine called Tricycle, very nice, very great articles. I like all that stuff. And there was an op-ed from a famous Western meditation teacher. I don't know who it was. He had maybe for 26 years had followers, you know, people he taught. And he was talking about a phenomenon he was running into with all his old-time people, and they would get in touch with him saying, you know, nothing's happened. Well, I said, fuck, get off that fucking bus. I mean, these people done a whole lot more than me, and they're telling me, you know, through this thing that nothing's going to happen. I might as well get off now. You know, they had big impacts on me. I just got off. I said, fuck that, and then I didn't, quote unquote, formally meditate anymore. Because you're being meditated. If you don't understand that, this is being meditated. This is being meditated, yes. You'll feel it. You'll feel a sense of where you wanted to get to through meditation as the starting point. You'll feel it. Why would you want to? I don't see. I don't know. I can get into opinions, but I can't get over this idea of mindfulness about mind. What is mind but mindful? Why would I try to? Why would I want to use mind through a false reference to be mindful? Just realize you're not that which thinks is unmindful. And you'll realize you're incredibly mindful all fucking day. It may not be going the way you thought, but that's all that's going on. I've got to be mindful. Well, congratulations. You've already reached that goal. You can't be more mindful than this. You're dreaming. Oh, you got to practice. Practice? How can you practice what you are? I mean, practicing what you know would reinforce that I'm not that, I would think. That's what they're warning us. Ramana Maharshi and Huang Po were giving us a certain mechanical formula about the source code of the failed system. It's trying to get out of itself as itself. It's using itself to find itself. That's how much you can't. Do you want to go through all the auxiliary apps and shit? Or why not just get to the source code? You can't use this system to get out of this system. Maybe you're taking yourself to be the system. All right, sit with that. See what happens. Does the system stop? No, but something changes. Yeah, you stop banging and looking for a new vehicle to get through an imaginary wall. You just pull back, and now you go other places. So, change this chair, change the shirt, no, change the look, no. You know, now you just drive up another way. Maybe it's much more scenic. You know, it's just, I'm just saying, hey, man, I'm just saying, this has produced a stabilized, as one of many expressions, a stabilized traveling lighter through the action figure life of Paul Hedderman. Now, I think it's applicable to any other action figure destiny. I don't think it's unique because it has nothing to do with Paul. It has to do with relief from a failed system. That's all. And I believe we're all sort of wearing that failed system. And so here you go. What more do you want? The proof is in the pudding. Yeah? The same shit that I used to go through in a much heavier way, I've been going through much lighter way. And I really saw there was so much more effort and thought not to go through the heavy way, putting more heaviness onto the heavy way, where this way has been much lighter and demanding no effort or thought, or regimen, or vigilance, or anything like that. Why wouldn't you? Unless you're like a militaristic person, you want to march in cadence. You know, for me, it's worked really well. You know, I mean, it's the easiest off the way for sure. and I think the real value in it is freedom. You know, I don't want to fucking work hard around being what I am. I don't believe I need to have sentinels and defense mechanisms and guard my space so much. I think my space is pretty big and just can roam around and shit like that. And you know, it's like if I look at it as a kid, I don't care if it stumbles and gets his knee. Oh no, you know, fucking, it's no big deal. It just rolls around. Everything is okay. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if you want, I feel maybe some people in this room are really spiritual. But I felt most of my spiritual movement was based on a seeming lack of contentment and satisfaction. Now that the contentment and satisfaction has been taken off the consumer aisle, and it's just always available at all times, it's tended to change my buying habits, you know, my shopping habits. Yeah, it has. I thought, you know, now you could have a big story about your shopping habits, and then that will have to be seen too, but it sloughed off also, because the hope at arriving is already there. I'm content and satisfied. So why would I look for it? And maybe, you know, and then there's plenty of times to express it all day. It doesn't have to have a certain venue to express contentment and satisfaction. There's not a contentment satisfaction convention, you know. It's just during the day, you just chill out, you know, and just do whatever. I mean, I just don't see the big. And so this is just a simple message. If it catches hold on you, it's going to shape the tree. Yeah, it is. And then a lot of stuff that you may have thought were factual or necessities will fall off. Yeah. It'll get streamlined. You'll be less encumbered. You won't have to have so many accessories concerning this topic because you truly are it. Yeah. You are it. And that the clarity you can't cover. What you can fall for is obscuring agents, which is you're the basis of, really. Yeah? So if there's a tint and it doesn't seem clear and you're sent out to make it clearer, that's a thicker tint. Yeah? So you're in the pursuit of taking the one tint off and you're adding a bigger tint. You can't get around that. That's one of the flaws, F-L-A-W, of the system. You can't use yourself to find yourself. It's gonna do exactly what it's been doing, really. You don't see it. You don't see the basis of how everything looks now is based on these facts, not being addressed, that's all. We're living assumed facts, and the assumed facts obviously aren't facts. So they're producing a lot of what? Well, runaway shit, yeah? You don't have to come back to the fact, you never left the fact. Coming back from the fact is giving the assumed fact too much fact, in my view. Yeah? The idea of having to let go is based on the fact that you're holding on. I don't believe that as a fact. I don't. So I'm not into letting go. I am not. I'm not in the business of fucking letting go. I'm in the business of not holding on. So I'm a faster. It's really a much quicker solution. Hey, I'm not fucking, you know, but it looks like you're holding on. Well, to you, all right, far out. I don't care. Of course this thing holds on. It holds on like its life fucking depends on it because it seemingly does. This thing is in a mortal anxiety every day, being the first, you know, the fourth person at the Starbucks line. You know, it's like fucking, you know what I mean? They're gonna run out of hazelnut fucking cream or something. Yes, it's mimicking mortal terror all fucking day. Your channel doesn't come in or whatever. Yeah, so yeah, this is dreaming. Fucking 101 dreaming. 101 dreaming. Yeah? If you look at your, all right, just look at your own subjective experience. It's not yours. Just look at the subjective experience. If there's an event, and the event is seen differently by every person in it, so the event's factualness can't facticize the person. The person gives it the meaning it has. What does that imply? That implies dreaming. Yeah? In other words, if I come to an event and I have my own experience of it and you do, that's dreaming. Yeah? If this was a real place, the reality of each part of the real place would impose its reality on you. You can dream yourself into a position in this life that it's doing that, but there's a lot of people right now walking around Toronto that aren't in that position. They have the ways and means and this and that, so they're casually in the act of dreaming, so to speak. Yeah? Maybe they're dreaming of survival when they should be there in the area of living, which is a drag in a way, you know? In other words, they're taken care of. They have enough to eat today. They have some clothing. They have a place to go home and sleep. But so that's you would think, if you were taking it real, that would bring a real relaxation because they're not in survival. But see, it isn't real. Someone who has a belief they're never going to have enough, it's not producing ease and comfort when they have $1 million. It doesn't. They need $2 million. See, it has nothing to do with the fucking reality here. We override the reality here because it's not real, and we are. We are the dreaming. We can dream that the dreamt can affect us, but we have to dream it because the dreamt can't affect us because it is a causeless effect. It's dreaming. It's not real, ultimately. Yes? Now, do you want to have a dreaming seminar where you spend your whole day trying to convince the dreamt that it's dreaming? No fucking way. You're talking to the dreaming about the dreamt. You're not talking to the dreamt about the dreaming. That's a huge difference. The direction of the message is not to you, it's through you to what you are, about you as what you're not to you as what you're not, about what you are. I've done that, and it's a failed mechanism. Don't you see it? Doesn't it piss you off when people who seem to be spiritually ignorant are much happier than you? You've got all this information, and you're fucking bummed out, and someone who's blissfully ignorant seems to be doing a lot better. This thing should tell you something. Hopefully, the failedness is the message, so that you'll stop relying on your own devices. You'll see they're not yours. What's the point? Do you think there's something out to get you? It's trying to get our attention. We, as the dreaming, is trying to get our attention as the dreamt. It's trying to show us the failedness of using yourself to find yourself, doesn't it? That's the final message. The message of all systems is that they're failed. Yeah. So that what? You'll weaken the reliance, and you'll find, just like when sometimes people joke about it, but where I'm home, no one asks me questions at any talk, because they're all trained now. You don't have any questions, ever. The new person comes in, and I go, any questions? No. So you got to be really fast to know when to pull it in, or the window gets closed. Because in a weird way, and I don't mind questions, but in a weird way, if you keep feeding the questioner, yeah, it puts off the idea that it's the answer. You starve the questioner, and maybe it realizes it's the answer to its fucking question. Instead of the questioner seeking an answer, you starve the questioner, and then maybe you'll realize it's the answer. There's that. Yes, yes. It happened with me with satsangs. One day I knew it. I'm never fucking asking another question because I saw the futility of fucking asking from what I'm not. It just fucking furthers what I'm not. Might as well just shut up, sit here, and just enjoy the space. Yeah? Yes. Don't you see it? It's a formula. You're using yourself, you're using what you're not to reinforce itself by looking for what it is. This wasn't a personal recrimination. It was emphasizing a flaw of the system. Concerning the being of what you are, the system is not successful in knowing what it is because it is that. It can know about other things, great, because it's not that in this dreaming. But it can't apply that same drive or direction of understanding and knowing and experiencing to what you are, because you can only be it. The system we're using can't get that. It just can't, because it doesn't see what you are as itself. It sees it as other, so it keeps applying the same vehicle of knowledge to what you are. That's why it fails, because you're not that. You're not a topic to the false subject. You are subjectivity. You know, if you weren't that, you could have a plan to arrive there. You could. Maybe through incredible heroic abstinence and shit like that. Maybe you could fine-tune yourself to hit that mystical note. Maybe, I don't know. But what deters all of those machinations is the stubborn elephant in the room. You are that. You know? And I'd see the mental state would love not to be that. It's totally into it. In certain venues, the mental state is into becoming what it is. It's totally, it will fucking spend a lot of work and effort. It's not into being what it is. It doesn't. I mean, it has to seem like it did something to make it worthwhile, I think. You know, it just has a difficult time. So why rest in its opinion about what's going on? See it as failed. Yeah, yeah. Then you'll have a sense of the higher power is always available at all times, right where you are, with no requirement necessary to meet it because you are it, really. And then when all the requirements arise, you'll see they're being put up by the false reference. That's all. There's no highway to heaven. Yeah. There's no highway to heaven. There's no stairs to heaven. No highway to heaven. No elevator to heaven. There's no fucking all-terrain vehicle which will ride Mount Heaven. It's just available right where you are. Okay? And whatever's going to happen, you know, will happen. Just don't. You'll lose interest in the thought system. You will, because it's a failed system, and it's not you. Can you imagine if you had Stanley's thoughts and you were noticing them as Stanley's and you were based on the idea of being Paul? You wouldn't fucking listen to Stanley's thoughts. But you've been listening to the same thoughts that are claimed as Stanley's, same thoughts claimed as yours. You've been listening to them for 50 years with great devotion. It's obviously not the thoughts, it's the identification as a thinker. That's what the mental state addiction is. The addiction of the mental state is to self. Being the doer, the haver, the loser, the thinker, the taster. Not tasting, thinking, losing, having. The haver of it all. That's the drug. The mental state is addicted to that. You're trying to work with the fucking addiction. Yeah? Because the addiction implies an addict. There is no addict. There's addiction. It's pure and simple, a drive of addiction. There's no addict that's going to recover up there when it comes to fucking the addiction to self. You see it as there is no addict. There's addictiveness. That's all there is. Now, there is an addict in this dream world and that which it's addicted to. But in the mental dilemma, it's just addiction. The mental state is addicted to the idea of being a someone. Is there a someone to be addicted? No. There's a mental addiction to the being of a someone. Yeah? I say it as the act of being identified as self. It's not like the act of being identified is the verb and then there's the noun of self. It's not that. It says the act of being identified as self is a verb. That's the addiction. The mental state is constantly in the act of being identified as self. Now, you may want to call it an addict, and then you want to reclaim and retrieve that addict. There is no addict. There is no self that's selfing. There's selfing that's being used to imply a self. There is no self that's doing it. There's doing, and that is used to imply the doer. The mental logic cannot come out of its programming. It's shown itself to be stuck at certain source codes. Running into the wall, self can't get out of self. Fucking move on. It has its position, it's mechanical, it will keep doing what it does, but it doesn't, you don't have to be the fucking ghost in the machine. You don't. It's got enough blown up its ass already. It can last another 30 years. Why do you think there's time? This idea is so insane, it can only appear in time for like 80 or 90 years. It has no lastability. Yeah? It fucking... The thing itself gets bored, I'm pretty sure. Aren't you bored, really? I mean, shit. When you're 20, you must be bored by now. All the illusory landings never were landings. They were just other little fucking local airports. You take off again, on and on. Searching, searching, seeking, seeking. The greatest word here in English language is enough. It's the greatest fucking word. Perfectly, perfectly related to the action figure. Enough is fucking enough. Yes? You know, you can. It's not going to be the chariot of the gods. Some utilitarian event. You know, drives, goes here, drinks. Yeah, it's like, watch me drink. Watch me drive. It's not that fucking stunningly exciting. Yeah, watch me as I transcend. Well, the worst is, I left completely. Why did you come back? People call me up. I've disappeared for the last few weeks. Who's telling me that? That's what I'd love to see disappear. That fucking thing that tells me that disappeared. Who's reporting in that someone disappeared? The someone that thought they disappeared. I got enough flash bulletins about them. Fucking, yeah. Let me hear a silence. That would be awesome. No reporting on any fucking conditions. You know? Fuck. You go through tons of conditions all day, don't you? Are they all noteworthy? You know what I mean? I just wanted to tell you, I'm fucking so high today. I'm so clear. Probably the clearest I've ever been at a Toronto talk. Oops, I must have fucked up. I don't feel clear now. I'm clear about that, that's for sure. I'm not that. Either side of the coin. And wow, does it make it? It makes it totally ordinary, completely. The peak experience of this message appears as ordinariness. That's the peak experience. The peak isn't even a peak experience because it stabilizes. Which makes it not that attractive. Because if the peak experience stabilizes, it isn't a peak experience anymore. No, it's ordinary. Yeah, that's the value. The value, it isn't wanted anywhere. The value, you can't write a blog about it, really. Follow my spiritual hijinks. No. There's no spiritual hijinks. I found it in Buenos Aires. I lost it in Lake Cusco. I found it again in the desert on a 10-day field. I lost it in New Jersey. Follow my fucking spiritual escapades. I was so close in Idaho, but then I found myself in Las Vegas, so far away. Then I went to Carmel, very close, but far away. You think this is giving distance to everything? This is the verification of close and far to what is everywhere. The little needle on the compass in spirituality is the last fucking thing to follow. Maybe the whole compass is cool, but not the needle. Yeah. So that's it, I think, for a break. Yes? I need to get a coffee. Hey, oh, thank you so much. Hey, if anybody, but before you give the thanks, give me the money.
Yeah. I'm sorry I was late. I come from a long way, so I was late. But everybody handing the money, please.
Yes, everybody handing the money.
And then I brought cake whenever you want to do
Oh!
it. Started.
I've lost, see now people, all they do is come to one meeting now. That's good. Some just call me on my voicemail.
You're doing more direct.
It's just, now I'm becoming obsolete, which is awesome. After that last talk, really, it gets out close to abuse soon.
Oh, I know.
But it produces a sense of feeling, which is good. There is a momentum in time, so I didn't like doing this mode, because most talks I just speak once a day. I don't like doing 2 talks a day, or I didn't. But then over the years, it does provide a momentum. Usually we'd have Coco have a breakdown on Sunday. Yes, people would elicit some demonstrations of something, so wow. Yeah, so I begrudgingly admit it does have, there's a flavor in time, and it can build a momentum, that's nice. But the message doesn't have to, the message itself doesn't get elongated by time. It's not amplified by time. You don't get more of the message. Yeah, you don't. You can spend tons of time on it. It doesn't equate to getting more of the message. The message is usually pretty direct because it's not building on anything, it's just negating something we think is already built, really. So it's not even saying, all right, it's built and we got to disassemble it and then obviously cart it off and get rid of it and then build something else quickly before it builds itself again. It's really, there isn't anything there to do, literally. Yeah, you see that the doing, just like there's a famous Zen saying in Faith Mind, it's been translated by a lot of people, but a famous little, very beautiful, very short Zen thing called Faith Mind, where he says things like, you don't have to search for the truth, just stop cherishing your own opinions, shit like that. So it goes always that direction. It says basically everything is quite open and easy, but the only requirement is you. You're the one that's making it uneasy and seemingly closed. Yeah. So he kept bringing it back, and at the end of the stanzas, which are only like 3 pages, he cries out and says, "Not to." Yeah. Which is what non-duality is. Non means not, and duality is two. So he was capturing the basic essence of non-duality, which is really a negation of an assumed two-ness. Not a denial of a fact called two-ness, a negation of an assumption called two-ness. And that we are the functioning of it, see? So we can't extract ourselves as we are from it because we are the projection of it. Yeah? We are the projection of two-ness. So the two-ness can't extract itself out of the two-ness because there's no two-ness, really. Yeah? So, yeah? So it's a negation. And so negation doesn't turn into affirmation except on the level of finding out. So you find out what you are is affirmed through finding out. It's not affirmed by knowledge what you're not is acquiring. It's affirmed by seeing what you're not, and then you find out what you are. Yeah? Now the dilemma is, a lot of us have acquired a lot of information about what we are, but has been held and stored in what we're not. So in a lot of ways, it's more of a disposal of knowledge for a while, in which you've got to see, just like in recovery just basically spells out you're screwed, really. And then there's an admittance to somewhere, not your head, but to, we call it the innermost, that you're screwed, that you're outmatched, and there is where possibilities occur. Or there's a sense that your power is derived by the admittance of powerlessness. So when you admit that you're powerless in the pursuit of trying to get out of you as you, yeah, then in that admittance, when you stop exerting power, you have power. Yeah? And so you can see the experience of powerlessness is when you're frustrated and things aren't going your way and the people aren't doing what you want. They're all reactions to your powerlessness that you're in denial of, or negation, yeah? Denial of. So now you admit that you're powerless, and now you have power. So you don't feel frustrated. You realize life's happening. It doesn't have it. It's not pointed at you. It's not like a fucking firing squad, fucking it's out to get me. It's all just weird perception from self-centeredness, yeah? So there's an acceptance of what happens, which is life is happening. Yeah? It's not personal. Yeah? Instead of life's happening to me, which always begs the incredible possibility, well, it doesn't need to be happening this way. But there's no honoring that it's happening. There's an immediately denial of it. Yeah? Where everything is begging for its 5 seconds on the stage. You're not going to rush off life, when it's inconvenient. You're not. If you try to, it probably stays longer, really. Yeah, it does. It will keep showing up to get its 5 seconds on the stage if you avoid it. I tried. This whole life as an action figure, especially with the use of drugs, like if my right arm was bleeding, I would just look left all day. I just avoid it, fucking at all costs. Just fucking everything, just avoid, avoid, avoid. Yeah? With the hopes that if it doesn't look like it's appearing, then it's not appearing. Yet, it was looming ever larger. The more I tried to make the shit unreal, the realer it was. I didn't understand that I'm the dreaming. Did not have any clue. That my trying to make shit unreal, that is unreal, makes it fucking real. What? Yeah, years of it. It all caught up to me. I got sober. I stopped. I realized the strategies weren't working. Shit that I thought I was successful at avoiding for years caught up to me. It landed, and the feeling of mortal threat was there. But when it landed, it showed me something. It's unreal. As soon as I let it be as real as it wanted to be, it showed me it was unreal. As I was trying to keep its reality unreal, it was as real can be. This isn't an aberration. This is how it works. We have a thing, get down to the exact nature wrong and causes and conditions. Understand what's happening. Why not? Instead of being at the expense of it or the consequence of it, see your role in things. Yeah? You can't have a bigger role in things than dreaming. This is the course which is, to me, laid some really beautiful things out here. And one of the ones it emphasized to me was the dreaming. Dreaming, not the dreaming, it's dreaming. And so it didn't say, you're in a dream, Paul. You're just an innocent victim of a dream. No, it says you're dreaming. You're the activity of dreaming. What? that you're not a noun, you're the activity of dreaming. You're dreaming here. So there's some Buddhism, they talk about the essence of mind is empty. Yeah? That's the essence of it. The nature of mind is reflective, which is the experience of consciousness, yes? And then the manifestation of mind is energy. So what is energy? This is the dreaming. Yeah? Dreaming, dreaming, dreaming. We're giving shape and meaning and form and name to everything. We're dreaming. To such a point in recovery life, you had a story of the worst thing that ever happened to you. Let's say getting run over twice one night. Pretty high. Could be seen as the worst thing that could happen to me. The worst thing that ever happened to me. And sometimes it gets frozen and there's a worshiping of it. This was the worst thing that happened to me. I can't go surfing anymore because my leg. I can't, my leg. It becomes a basis of tons of stories that, like, you know, when they have a successful show and then they have offshoots. So a very minor player told Tommy, then it's Tommy's show. And then because they had interest in the one show, you're interested in all the, it's sort of like that. So you get hit by a car, supposedly. That's the one story. Then there's tons of tributaries running from there. Yes, yeah. So, all right, that's the worst thing ever happened to me. Then something happens. You get sober. And what occurs? Some things change. You don't change them. You're submitted to be changed, and it changes. Yeah? And suddenly you see the worst thing ever happened to you as the best thing that ever happened to you. Wow, that's an incredible transformation. If something was really the worst thing ever happened to you, and then really turned into the best thing that happened to you, that would be an incredible metamorphosis, yeah? But it wasn't the worst thing ever happened, nor is it the best thing. It was given the meaning, yeah? When I was in one condition, that was given the meaning to be the worst thing ever happened to me. Then I saw that provided surrender and shit like that. Hey, and from where I am now, that was the best thing that happened to me. I'm not actually saying that was with this topic. I'd much rather not have gotten run over by a car. But, yeah, so you see, if something could be the worst thing and then the best thing, it obviously was no thing. Yeah. I mean, something that's real would hold its reality. Yeah. It wouldn't morph into the worst and best based on your condition. In other words, you would have primacy over it. Yeah, we do. We're dreaming. So it's a nice thing to understand because we're living as the dreamt. And we're taking the dream to be real, in most cases, the dreaming. As the Course would say, there's projection, then perception. Where we see there's perception, and then we're thinking everyone's mentally projecting on other people. Like when I'm bitching to my girlfriend, I'm projecting something on her. We get very clear on that, but we don't get clear on the big projection and perception. We're projecting, mind is, and then perceiving. So the dreaming is projected, and then it's perceived from the dreamt, and it seems real. If seen from the dreaming, it isn't seen real. If seen from the dreamt, it seems real. Yeah? Now, why would I try to change the dreamt, which is programmed to see the dreaming as real? Why would I spend weeks trying to convince it what it totally believes in its programming to be real, not that it's not real? Bypass the dreamt, speak to the dreaming. Speak to the dreaming about the dreamt. Stop speaking to the dreamt about the dreaming. Oh, man. It's the same direction. I saw in my own experience when people were describing what I am to me, that me, they were describing everything, not to, but which called it to be to, that claimed it, was what I wasn't. And I saw exactly what Ramana was warning about. If this is the case, if what you're not hearing about what you are, the hearing about what you are is really reinforcing what you're not. What? Yeah. What would that initiate if you heard it? A fucking pause. Yeah. what energizes the ride is us. The rise can be paused. It stops. Things get seen. Reconfigurement may occur. Now, you're seeing, not hoping to see the dreaming from the dreamt, you're seeing the dreamt from the dreaming. And information has some fucking weight. I'm not that. Not like, I wish I wasn't that. I hope I'm not that. No, I'm just not that. Okay, what occurs? Well, that assumed fact is the mother and father of a lot of fucking assumptions. A lot of fucking assumptions. You want to change the string of assumptions, get to the knot, that a thread comes through all that to all the other assumptions. So now, the assumed idea that I am the thought, the cause, the source of everything, as the dreamt, suddenly I see this as an effect and as a form of expression. Oh, far out. And an observation. I can observe shit. Yeah? So now, just like in AA, how can you see the difference? All right, perhaps there's a better way. What's the better way? Trusting something infinite rather than finite self. All right, so basically it's implying there must be trusting finite self already. Or why would they say trusting something infinite? So let's look at how do I trust finite self? Well, I fucking have faith in the thoughts. It's not trusting my elbow. It's faith in the thoughts, yeah? And it's asking, well, perhaps there's a better way, having faith in something infinite. It's not demanding action from that. It's just trying to describe what's happening so that which is happening can entertain another possibility. All right. So explain to me what trusting something infinite looks like. Fuck that. Explain to me what it looks like trusting something finite. So I can recognize that's what's happening. Because I'm not recognizing that, and I'm not going to recognize it from here. Let's recognize, what does it look like trusting something finite? All right, faith in the thought system. Why the hell am I having faith in a GPS that never brings me to my wished-for destination? Why all those nights I wanted to go out and have fun, and I ended up in jail? The next day, I'd find myself relying on the same GPS and then end up in jail again and be surprised. But I listened to the same thing that brought me to jail on Wednesday night, and by Friday night I was back in jail and I was totally dumbfounded. How the fuck did this happen? I followed the same fucking directions. Have fun, cop, coke, get arrested. It didn't tell me the get arrested part, but that was part of the destination. Yeah? So, all right, now I'm very familiar what it looks like to trust something finite. I am. I don't need to trust something infinite. I don't. All I got to see is the failure of trusting something finite, listening to the fucking head. That's trusting something finite. What's it freaking doing? It's bringing in a whole lot of what's not happening to what's happening. And most of my disturbance is really based on what's not happening. How am I going to get a solution to that if it isn't happening? How can I get an antidote to next week when there is no next week right now? Well, seeing the failure of trusting something finite. Have your thoughts been reliable? Have your takes on yourself and others been fucking reliable? Has the forecasting been like 90% successful in your life? Have you seen a lot of shit that wasn't there? Did you think people were thinking about you when they didn't think about you at all? Did you think they're all looking at you and no one even knew you were in the room? Yeah, if you've gotten enough samples, the fucking system has failed, yes? All right, but the way the system prolongs its life, it now tries to be what's going to trust the infinite, which ends up just being another form of trusting the finite. Because now the infinite is based on your understanding of it, which isn't the infinite. Yeah? So now you think the highest level I can get, I'll get a parking space, you know, or maybe a date. Maybe I won't flip out at the next picnic. This is the level of fucking largeness of life you're shooting for. Not for me. After a few years of active alcoholism, my idea of success was not to be arrested. That's what I was shooting for. I could just make it through the week without ending up at 850 Bryant, I'll be fucking, that's great. I mean, when I was 12, I wanted to be a marine biologist. In 4 years of active addiction, all I wanted was not to get arrested. That's a pretty low bar. And I couldn't even succeed there. So this idea, we have tons of information about what we're not. Why try to acquire so much information about what you are? You got an unbelievable amount about what you're not. Use that to be the springboard. Yeah, it's not working learning more about what you are conceptually are as what you're not. It isn't working. It's not even working that well. If you're in a controlled situation like a retreat or a meeting like this, everyone can look very sublime and peaceful. Just see if they got a parking ticket outside. They're fucking flipped out. And if you want to live in a controlled fucking environment, maybe it'll work with having tons of knowledge about what you are. Yeah? But if you really want to go on a retreat, go to Newark, New Jersey. Try to live there on the streets. Yeah? All the retreats are in beautiful, idyllic places with fucking vegan food and massage. Go out and try to make it on Hoboken. Hoboken's nice now. Newark. Yeah? So, trusting something infinite. If you get weaned off the failed system, you'll be in the act of trusting something infinite. You don't have to try to trust something infinite. You just lose faith in something finite. There's no other game in town. That's where the trust goes. It doesn't go to something other finite. It goes to the infinite. Yeah? And then perhaps there's a better way, and you'll see it's the better way. How? It will demonstrate. You won't be going to jail probably unless you're visiting there. Yeah? A lot of things will start working out, almost seemingly miraculously. You'll suddenly realize something's doing for you what you can't do for yourself. Yeah, this is the key. See what you're not. There's so much ample information. And then you'll find out what you are. Instead of just staying in what you're not, trying to find out what you are. And I'm telling you, right now, the mental state is assuming it's here, listening to this information. It is. It's not a surprise, it's mechanical. Right. It doesn't mean it can succeed just because it's happening. But its speed is quite impressive. And it's definitely outmatches any process. You're not going to do something to get out of the doer. It's not going to work. Yeah? You have to see it from timelessness, which is your inherent perch, really. That's where we are located. We're seemingly in time, but we're not of time. Yeah? You can see the process of selfing. You see it's a lot of pointing at a historical moon that you never see now. You see it in a future forecast, and you see it in past. The moon is as big as your fucking face. But now there isn't any moon. It's only pointing. Pointing, 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 pointing. Yeah? You and I make the leap, not you and I. I makes the leap into taking itself to be something, seemingly. It never loses itself in it. It's like the story of the Brownie camera, a very cheap camera. Someone got me a Brownie camera now, it's cool. They sent me a Brownie camera. But a Brownie camera, it was really these things you used to buy at a store. It would only have a set of like 8 pictures, like a cardboard box, and then you give it to the developer and there it went, yeah? And it had like a plastic lens. You basically just pointed and hoped, you know, you couldn't really see, just like that. So here's this camera, and let's say there's this incredibly big camera. It's got a nice like tripod like that. That's mobile. It's a surround everything, HD quality. And it walks by this little Brownie camera, and it decides to look through the Brownie camera. And as it's looking through the Brownie camera, it forgets that it's the larger camera. Yeah. It forgets it. So now it's suddenly encased as the Brownie camera. It's not true, but it's not imagining itself to be anything other than the Brownie camera. Now the Brownie camera isn't that good, yeah? And so it decides, I gotta improve the Brownie camera. So it buys like $2,000 Nikon lenses, but puts it on the plastic lens. It doesn't matter what comes after, the before is gonna dominate. Yeah? You can put $5,000 lenses, you're still gonna see through a plastic. Yeah? So it tries to keep improving the Brownie. Instead of finally it hears the message, some other camera comes by and goes, what the hell, why are you looking through that? And the thing gets the idea, I may not be the Brownie. Does it have to be pulled apart? No. It just, and does it have to rebuild the great, no, it was nothing, it didn't lose anything. It was lost seemingly, but there was no losing, yeah? It appeared to it, it was the Brownie, but it wasn't. That's the message. The message is you are what you're looking for. Now, with no requirements necessary to be that which you're looking for, because it's inherently what we are. And this is the dreaming of what we're not. And it doesn't even last that long. 80, 90 years is nothing. Yeah. It's like maybe one breath, in a sense, if you looked at it that way. So, and I'm not looking for fucking the greatness, just to be okay. Just start from a new basis. You want to call it trusting something infinite. Doesn't take much effort because it's infinite. Yeah, trusting something that's imaginary to be real is a lot of fucking work. Trusting what's already so to be so is pretty fucking reliable because it's so. You know, it's sort of like, here I am. I can make shit out of nothing, but can you imagine if that was turned on something that was really so? I'm making shit out of what's not happening all day. Can you imagine if that quality that's being demonstrated all day found something that's real? The combination of that would be mind-boggling. Yeah? Maybe there would be an ability to enjoy peace of mind. Maybe you would know serenity and understand peace. Understand peace. Understand peace. Yeah? And be able to enjoy peace of mind. Peace of mind is available, but is there an ability to enjoy it? If you're of time, there's no enjoyment of peace because you're too worried there won't be peace tomorrow. You can't have peace in time. It's not of time. Yes? So this is what we're of. That's available to what we're of. Yeah? Now what you're in, or seemingly is, can express it. It can't have it. Yeah? You can't grab it. You can't lose it, which is great. But it can express. Yeah? It can express an ease and comfort when it doesn't even have suiting circumstances, situations. Things can look like shit and be okay. You can still be okay because you actually outshine circumstances and situations. Yes, we do. We outshine circumstances and situations. We have to lend reality to circumstances, situations to be defeated by circumstances, situations. We have to. We have to. We have to see ourselves as something that we're not to be defeated by what we're not. Yeah? So it's just a matter of recognizing it. You hear it enough, and then don't be that idea of you waiting for the message to arrive at your door, you're missing the fucking point. The message doesn't arrive, it's there already. It would take too long to get it. It's before that. It's not a getting it, and there's no losing of it. That's the beauty of it. You lose the joy of the mental state of getting something, but you also lose the fear and anxiety of losing. Yeah? You may not look so special, but there'll be an incredible reliability. Yeah? And it's like that thing where the famous old story by Ramana Maharshi, well before him, about the lady who loses her necklace. Yeah? So she loses her necklace, and she's really bummed out, and she asks all her friends to help find it. They can't find it, looking everywhere, and so they hear about someone who says they found the necklace. So they go to the meetings, and the guy's telling them, yes, I know how to find the necklace, and I'll teach you how to find the necklace. And they're hoping, and they sign up, and time goes on, and they're still looking for the necklace. And then suddenly a guy comes in and says, hey, just feel around your neck. the lady feels around the neck, and there's the necklace. So now she has the great joy of finding the necklace, but she never really lost it. Yeah? And she never lost it to be bummed out by losing it. Yeah? What is that but dreaming? We're dreaming that we lost that which can't be lost with the hopes that we'll find it. Yeah? But we didn't lose it. And I guarantee you'll spend more time in losing it than finding it. Yeah? You'll spend a lot of time in it being lost, and very infrequent times of finding it, usually being lost very quickly. It's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. Why not just recognize you can't lose what can't be lost, and you can't find what can't be actually found. It's already there. Yes? So, yeah. So let's open up to questions. I've just said it like 800 different ways. You've got to have gotten the flavor. That's what you leave with, is the flavor. You don't need to read the menu. The flavor is the meal. The flavor you'll find out about that. You don't need to fucking know. Thanks for the coffee, it's great. Yes? Any questions? I have a question. Why the fuck are you here? I think it's all, let's get down to it. It's just connection. Tanya and Danya, Donna and Donna.
Yeah.
Conrad, everyone here. Yeah, it's a nice thing. To me, this would be the Course in Miracles. We're dreaming ourselves out of the dreaming. And as we do, the dream will get happier. So that's what I think satsang is, yeah? Is we're dreaming ourselves out of the dreaming, and the dream will get happier. Let go of any ideas. I mean, not even let go. If you're stuck on some story of being disconnected, you're connected to that which you're not. Yeah? You have to be connected to that which you're not to feel disconnected. That's part of its connection, is that you'll feel disconnected. Just lose interest in that. You've never not been here. You never need to get into the moment. You can't be out of the moment. And you don't have to get out of something you're not in. You're not a thing. You don't have to get out of it. Yeah? That's the bizarro world. We're trying to get into the moment, which we can't be out of. And we're trying to get out of self, which we can't be in. You don't see it? The out is the in. Your wanting to get out is the in. When have you had your best moments? When you surrendered, haven't they? When you fucking gave up the fucking pursuit. When you just said fucking enough, and then it was a stopping, and then suddenly all that you hoped you were looking for through all the effort appears. What was that? It just told you the whole line, the whole storyline in the free sample. Does anyone set out to be a great meditator here? I don't know. I was not that good. 13 hours a day. I used to sit for 13 hours a day. I had to be forced to in like Thailand and India. I'd have to go to a place and force me to do it. I'm not going to choose to do 13 hours of meditation. So I sign up, and you know what I mean? And the pressure of the group, Thailand, it was a trip. They have a kuti, which is a little room. I was in the little kuti, and this was a working temple, and every person, every male in Thailand has to go in the spiritual army for 3 months. They got to be a monk. Like you would go into service, in Israel, they all have to go into the army. Well, there you got to go into the monkhood for 3 months. Now, most of these kids have no inclination to be a monk. So they were at this retreat center because there was a working temple, and then there was this little retreat going on. So these kids were smoking cigarettes, riding motorbikes with their little outfits, and they got these superpower slingshots. And my cootie was an aluminum building, and they kept shooting the building with these rocks. You'd be there meditating, coing, coing, and they had their little music play, and they're ting. It was like a perfect setting for a retreat. And of course I look brighter. After 13 hours of meditation, the brain is going to be affected. Yeah? You don't eat that much, and you sit for 6 hours sitting, 7 hours walking, where they did the old lift, heel, move, touch down, lift, move, touch down. You know, the best, most important thing was pick where you were doing it. You know, so I had a little alley between the temple and the graveyard. Walk on to down, 45 minutes, an hour. Back, go sit for an hour, go back. 3 weeks, you know. Lost 21 pounds, and I can't lose weight. I had a soup every morning at 10:30. That was it. There was nothing. It was just broth, really. Yeah, I looked like I was high as hell. Seeing mandalas moving, tripping out, tripping my brains out, really. But in fact, nothing actually happened. It doesn't change, doesn't get even close to the source code. It just doesn't. It was just every act of every moment of meditation. Meditator, 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 meditator. It was just accruing a huge fucking account. Meditator, much better than drug addict. Meditator, meditator, really better than drug addict. Meditator. The bondage of self continued with a noble setting. That's what it can show you. It's failed. Nothing right or wrong with it. It's good if you like. I mean, like for me, I have blood pressure problems. It's good to meditate 20 minutes, but if you're meditating 13 hours a day, you believe you're going somewhere. You do. No one's going to do that. You know, for health. You're doing. I'm transcending. This doesn't go anywhere. Yes.
Do you have anything to say about like power of intention? Like in say meditation, I go to meditate sometimes at a Tibetan Buddhist temple in Parkdale. We have KSDL here with Alex. So a lot of that meditation involves compassion, right? Just focusing attention on compassion, right, and trying to kind of get in tune with that.
What is compassion? What is it? How does it appear to you?
Well, it's just, well, I guess compassion is, it's a wish for all beings to be at peace and free from suffering, right? So, does that have any kind of, I mean, we're talking about non-duality, so, right?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about that in terms of non-duality and concept
No,
of duality? Is there
certainly non-duality? No.
No.
No. I think. Well, I don't think there's any intention in non-duality. Right. But if there is, it's already been set for sure.
Okay.
I think there's intention here when your head can be going crazy, whatever. Yeah. I think there's a lot of improvement of the brain and body, for sure.
Right.
But I don't see that as you. You know. But I also think there's a limit of improving the brain and the body.
But as far as intention itself goes,
I have an intention this meeting gets over soon.
Yeah. Is there any room for that? Like, you wouldn't have intention without an individual, right? I guess there couldn't be an intention of a higher power of some sort of whatever understanding having an intention, or there being some kind of a universal intention beyond an separate individual, right?
I think he just answered your question.
Right.
Personally, as Paul, I don't have much intention anyway, so
right.
I'm sure a lot of people do. I don't know how to think good of others, really. I don't know what the best is for people. I thought I did in the past, I don't now. You know, I believe certain people, like in recovery, I think you do disservice to people, some people, trying to save them from their bottom. The bottom is part of what is necessary. So, yeah, my idea of help has changed a lot. Like in AA, I speak in recovery, I feel I can be helpful there. In non-duality, I don't think it's good to be helpful. I think it's good to leave people with their own devices so they see they're not their own devices. So I don't think it's helpful to be helpful in non-duality. I don't think non-duality should be applied to other things. I don't think there should be non-duality therapy. I don't. I think you should just leave it alone. Yeah? My feeling. I would say just leave it as a fact and let it change what can be changed here. But intention is powerful, I guess, for some people, but it's not been a thing for me. Because I don't know I've seen too many people, you know, I used to be wanting to be very helpful when I first got in recovery, but my ideas of help have changed dramatically. I don't know what helpful is, really. Yeah? Does it help someone to keep them from what is necessary for something to change in their lives? I don't know. Yeah? So I don't know, I'd rather be in an effect of whatever intention is had by something instead of having an intention. The way I saw it as an action figure was in recovery, in hindsight, I submitted myself to be changed. I don't change anything. So, and then what happened is I got changed sufficiently to change, really. All the stubbornness that was needed to get loosened and not so arthritic and rigid happened, and then I was capable of changing. So when I saw behaviors that weren't working for others, that could change by just seeing it and telling the truth about it. Yeah, yeah. So I got corrected a lot as an action figure. But then it has its limit. I don't believe perfection is a viable option here as a physicality. I don't. So I've reached a point of maintenance. Yeah, and that's enough. I'm not looking to improve much anymore. Of this, I'm not. It's workable. It got me here to Toronto, and hopefully it'll get me home. And it can play a good role of a hose. Yeah, and that's it. But be clear, I'm not the messenger. This is just the hose carrying the message. Yeah. At first, I tried to live up to the message as this. I realized, fuck it. It didn't care. It didn't give me any orders to get better. It didn't. And it came through no matter what condition I was in. Super sick, waiting to hear if I had AIDS, not having money, sinus infections, feeling great. It didn't matter. It just came through whatever. So it showed what I'm not, the irrelevance of what I'm not, really. In other words, this doesn't have to be prepared to the water doesn't care if the hose is gold or not. It just wants to be conveyed. That's its drive, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't care the vehicle of it. It doesn't have to have a loving gaze or anything like that. It doesn't. And I don't like long pauses at meetings because I think the mental state regroups. It do. It just fucking formulates again. So we like to dump so much information on people so that when they go, I got it, there's more coming, so they can't grab it, and it gets through finally. That's the point. There's a science in these talks. I've learned by watching it. Yeah? I learned by what it's doing. It's trying to overwhelm the system itself so that something that's obvious can fucking be obvious for a freaking second or two. Yeah. Then I learned how quick the system is to regroup, so that's why I come back live, so that I can be like an ear doctor and check everything out and just keep reasserting as clearly as it can be put, this is what we're attempting to convey. I know you're going to make it what it's going to be for you, but that doesn't mean it can't be said, yes, over and over, and keep the simplicity of it. It doesn't need addition. There's no what's new in non-duality 2019. It's just perfect. Nothing doesn't need to be added to. Yeah? Just that. It doesn't need your help. And I believe it's already a done deal. You are that. We're just doing like a pantomime of hearing about something. But you're already that. Yeah? The spiritual subpoena is like retrograde. You've already gone through the court system. You've been annulled. All the transgressions have been annulled and voided. The only thing that's playing God here is what you're not. And we have a statement in AA. This is such a beautiful statement. It says, you got to quit playing God. So obviously it's implying you're playing God, the people who wrote the book. Or why would they say you got to quit playing God? If I'm not running, why would someone say, you got to quit running? Well, I'm succeeded, I'm not running. No. So obviously the impliedness is there's a lot of playing God. And it says, you got to quit playing God. It doesn't work. Simple. Okay? And then the next big statement is the biggest principle of all, turning your will and life over to care of higher power. But it's predicated with first, quit playing God, because that's more important actually than the third step, is the seeing who's playing or what's playing God. So all right, quit playing God, it doesn't work. All right, so that which is playing God, here's the message. Quit playing God. It tries to quit playing God. Isn't that playing God ad infinitum? Tell me, when does it get out of it so? When does that which is playing God, when can it quit playing God?
It knows it's not him.
It can't. So you see you're not that which is playing God. You see you're not that which is playing God. That's quit playing God. Yeah? Well, you will, because it's not you. All the focus is directed at it because it's implied to be you. You'll lose interest in it when you see it's not you. You will. Just like you lose interest in it in a, fucking a conversation in another room because you're trying to hear about it because it's important to you, because you want to talk to the girl and you're hoping she likes you. And then she says, hey, I like a guy named Matt and your name is Paul. You're going to lose interest in that conversation right away. It's not like, come back! You just fucking flat out lose interest. Same thing with this. Exact same thing. If it's not about you, you're going to lose interest in it. You're going to see the incredible boredom of it. How many times have you been provoked into anxiety? How many times did you feel like you got that buzz, that little micro, like that micro dosing now? That's just combating a constant micro electrocuting by anxiety from what's not happening. We're under a huge microdose of it all day. It's constantly reacting with anxiety based on what's not happening. That's all based on what's playing God. What's playing God is the God of time. And it's in conflict, it's inflicting this situation through time. That's what Course in Miracles says, a causeless effect. An effect that has no cause. An effect now, based on next week, is a causeless effect. There is no next week now. It is a causeless effect. That's the solution to the effect, is seeing there's no cause to it. You're dreaming it. If you keep calling it next week, when you arrive at next week, there'll be another next week. And when you arrive at that next week, there'll be another next week. And you'll constantly be looking for relief from next week, but you'll never get relief from next week, because there'll always be another next week that will be fucking you. Fuck, it's slavery. I'm not talking about spirituality, I'm talking about practicality. Something is displacing what you are, which is interest and attention. It's displacing it. It's hiding it in 30 years ago and 20 years from now. It's putting it in different locations. California instead of Toronto right now. Or fucking in your dream place near the ocean instead of Toronto right now. Here now. This is it. You'll never get gypped. if you can just respond and follow the cue of what's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching. You don't have to go be where your feet are, be where that is. Your feet may be up on a chaise lounge. You know, you can go seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. That's us. Wherever that is, there you are. You can only think about California when you're in Toronto. You want to take thinking over seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching? Be my fucking guest. But don't bitch about it then. Don't bitch about all the possibilities that are truly impossible that become possible by being totally into what's not happening. Go at it. But fucking don't call me up anymore. I don't want to hear people bitching about what's not happening when they don't want to take the fucking solution, which is it's not happening. No, 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 no. Let's talk for 5 hours about next week. No, fuck you. I'm not giving the attention to that pursuit. No way. You know, there'll be plenty of people who will. They'll give you plans. They will. They'll give you a diet, maybe. They'll give you something to deal with it. The only way to deal with what's not happening is it's not happening. Any solution to it becomes a bigger problem, isn't it, really? I like this idea, and I'm going off now. I'm going to the action figure world.
No, turn this off.
Yeah, turn it off.